house, guys. So you guys have been in property now for how many months?
Just over a year
now. Yeah.
Just over a year, okay. And you've built up a nice little rent-to-rent portfolio, financially independent. So how did this all start? Like, when was the moment when you were like, property investment, that's the one?
So to be honest with you, we kind of always knew that we wanted to get into property from we was like quite young.
You guys are what, cousins?
Cousins, yeah.
Okay.
We always used to watch the property programs, Homes of the Hammer, everything like that. And then it kind of got to a stage where it was like, how are we actually going to get into it?
Yeah.
So it was about 2020, wasn't it? When 2020, towards the end of 2020, and we was like, you know what we'll do? We'll just see if we can raise some money, just save, etc., and try to get into it that way.
Right.
Then it was actually Jordan, to be honest. We was both reading the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then Jordan actually said, "Oh, have you seen this guy on YouTube?" He's like, "No, I haven't seen him." He's like, "Samuel Leeds." Because you need watch one of his vids and like tell me what you think. So I started watching your vids, and then I messaged him and I was like, this guy's a genius. I said we have to try and do something about this. Like what you were saying was like resonating with us. Exactly. Like it was like it's speaking to us. So he's like, you know what?
I think mainly it was just sort of because we had been looking at property, we just didn't know what entry point we could get into.
Yeah.
So when we seen, okay, potentially we might be able to get into it another way than the conventional way, we was all over it,
definitely.
just binge watching, trying to get through the videos.
So what's the conventional way then? What's the Homes Under the Hammer? You know, what's the traditional way?
I'd say really, the way we was looking at it was we'll both get into a job, save up as much as possible in this job to then be able to go in and get maybe an auction property or something like that.
Right, yeah.
But it wasn't until we came across you and you showed us how much of a stupid idea that was. It was like, now we're a bit screwed because that was what we was banking on, but now there's another avenue.
I remember when we met as well. I remember when we were at the crash course and you were like, I've just been made redundant. I haven't really got much money to invest. I was like, good. You know.
That one was actually crazy because I came up to you in one of the breaks. I said, Samuel, look, love what you're doing. I love the course. I'd really like to join. But right now, I've just been made redundant. I'm in a bit of a situation. What can I sort of do? And you turned around to me and you said, well, I think it was 1995. How would you like to pay? And I went, oh.
Savage.
Yeah, savage. I said, but in all honesty, I think that sort of commitment made us say, you know what, we now need to commit. It had to work. We had to make it work. There wasn't really any other option, which just kept propelling us forward, really.
Yeah, you know what as well, when people are wanting to do like deal sourcing, rent to rent, flipping, all that kind of stuff, when you haven't got much money and people come to me and say, oh, can you train me? Can I take you out for a coffee? And I kind of feel like, you know what, if there's no skin in the game, you know what I'm saying? So exactly. I could have said to you, oh yeah, let's meet, I'll train you, I'll give you some advice. But it's like, actually, if you don't pay attention. So when I said to you, look, it's 1995, so how can you get the money? And I know you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, which says, never say I can't afford that. Exactly. Instead, say, how can I? So I'm like, how can you get the money then, bro? How can you just train? So you guys did some advanced training. What happened at that point? What was the first course you did with us?
Done the online course first. We've done the rent-to-rent accelerator online. That enabled us to get our first deal. So we was like, okay, we've now got to this level where we've got one deal. We're struggling to get the second. How do we now elevate ourselves to get more deals? And we just said we need the education. We'd done the rent-to-rent accelerator, but
that was only online.
Yeah, we didn't know exactly about HMOs and service accommodation. So yeah, we just needed a bit more education, really.
Even when we went to one viewing before, we kind of thought of it was just a HMO, but really looking back, it was actually in Coventry Centre by the train station. It would have worked perfectly as an SA, but at that point in our journey, we hadn't been educated enough to notice that, okay, we don't actually have to use it as a HMO, we can use it as a serviced accommodation. Yeah. So yeah, at that point, we kind of just thought, you know, we need to actually get educated now. And
so how many properties have you got now?
We've got 4 rent-to-rent deals at the moment.
4 rent-to-rent deals. And you built that up just in the last sort of 12 months?
Yeah, literally, yes.
So you know the money is coming in. Yeah. So how much on average is each property kind of making?
So last month, throughout all of the properties, we made 3,800 clean profit. That was because we're sort of super conservative with our figures.
Yeah, dead conservative.
Yeah, just because we'd rather get a lot more than we was expecting and get less than what we was expecting.
Because you were expecting when you first got those properties, you were saying to me like maybe £500 a month each, which would be £2,000, and it's almost double that.
Exactly,
So
it's a pleasant surprise when the bookings
And where are you based?
Dudley, just outside Birmingham.
And your property area is where?
Coventry, Leicester. So we just thought for our patch wise, we just keep within the Midlands, just so it's usually about an hour's drive from Coventry, Leicester, and them sort of places.
So what I want to do in this interview is I want to break down what you did, how you speak to landlords, how you speak to agents, how you know whether a deal's going to be good or not, how to be conservative on your numbers, and how to risk assess a deal, the management side of things, and hopefully give the audience that are listening some real strong value in what to do it. So let's talk about your first deal. Wow. How did you find it, and where did it come from, and what happened?
The first deal, so what we actually done, we sent out landlord letters. We got the sort of database from online, Google, just spent hours just inputting it into Excel, ready to sort of mail merge it and send it out. Sent out, I believe, 200 letters, and we had about 5 to 10 responses. And within those, we then had one viewing. Is a landlady. She sort of had a HMO. The management side of it was sort of getting on top of her a little bit, and also it was just a fact of she just didn't have the time to be able to go over to the property, sort this out.
So sorry to interrupt, these landlords then, did you just rip this from the council website?
Exactly.
My God. Right.
Exactly. So we just got some responses from the letters back. Went and had a viewing. She was confident in what we could provide. I think it was just the way we sort of pitched to her and sort of proposed a deal to her. She was confident with
landlord direct.
Yeah, exactly.
So she contacted you.
Exactly.
What did the letter say? What did the letter say?
Instead of we just put on our letters, we just put about 5 bullet points and we just list them. We just said on there that we can provide a hassle-free approach for you. We can literally take and give you a guaranteed rent every month, and then you just have free time. So we kind of just made it 3 to 4 bullet points, just so it's quite simple. Kind of introduced the concept of like, obviously we then take it on and then provide yourself with the guaranteed rent, etc. And then to be honest,
because we also put in the fact that it's just coming out of COVID, so we tried to just use that as an advantage because tenants were low in the area at the time. So to the landlord, it seemed like maybe we can't get tenants. I think they were a bit panicking about that, which allowed us to sort of say we can still find tenants and things like that.
Grant Cardone says never miss a good crisis.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So if there's problems, if there's a crash or if there's a lockdown, whenever there's problems, that means there's opportunities because people are worried, people are concerned. You can find a solution and bring in a business proposition. So so you get this letter out. You say these are the advantages, basically to rent, right? Exactly. I can give you a guaranteed rent. We can fix the price. We'll then take care of finding the tenants, and we'll keep the profit that we make. So it's risk free for the landlady. So what did she say?
She was like,
she was pretty happy with it. One thing that actually kind of worked in our favour, when we went for the viewing, there's 8 bedrooms in the HMO. So there was bedroom 4 right at the back. So she knew that the tenant wasn't there. But when we actually went for the viewing, the room was trashed. Like, it was probably one of the worst rooms we've ever seen. It was trashed. To her knowledge, she thought that somebody was still living there, it was in okay condition. But clearly the letting agents that had it wasn't really doing the best job. So for us, it kind of worked in our favour because she's probably thinking, well, these are some new guys. Clearly what I was doing before wasn't working. So
she's thinking, I can't be bothered with all this.
The stress, the hassle,
How did you get around like referencing and all that? Did you?
That one was actually crazy because it was direct to landlord. We didn't have to sort of do any references, no deposit, anything like that. So we sort of just went away after the viewing, sort of worked out the figures that would stack for us, and we made her an offer. She was actually happy with the offer. We offered her £2,037 a month.
Why so specific?
Somebody gave us a tip previously, and they said they just said to us if you've got a specific number, it just seems like it's more calculated. So I believe we factored in 2,050 and it stacked for us. So we said, well, we may as well knock 12, 13 quid off, and it looks a bit more solid.
Because it kind of makes people think like, oh wow, there's a reason you put that. That must be the maximum. There's no negotiations here. Whereas if you say £2,000, they might go, oh, call it 2,500.
Yeah.
£2,037.
That's it.
You know, so okay.
Yeah, so that went well, and we just negotiated with the landlord. This was in April last year.
Yeah.
So she
So
said,
about a year ago now then.
yeah, she said that tenants are actually in the property until August, so we wouldn't be able to take it on until then. But in the meantime, we said, okay, we'll take the property on from August. Would we be able to use the keys and once per week be able to get some tenants in? So now we've already agreed, we've got a 2-week rent-free period in August to take us to September. And then between that time, from April to September, we can already get our tenants in before we've paid a penny.
So it's like a total no money down deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
You know what's really funny? Some people say, I can't do rent to rents because I can't pass the reference in. Well, on this occasion, there was no reference in because she trusted you and warmed to you as people and business people. Number two, I ain't got the money. Well, on this occasion, you didn't need any money. So it's a perfect deal.
Yeah, it was. So when we took it on, the contract started in September. So at that point, we had already pretty much filled all the rooms. There was just one left, which are coming at the end of September. So it actually really worked quite well because from the get-go, it was fully occupied. And we didn't even have to really worry about, we haven't got one tenant or whatever. Literally straight away, full tenants.
How much profit is that? How much profit are you getting from that deal?
Well, that one is a bit crazy because we still had to put 3,000 into that deal. So at this point, we'd put our money on education and setting up the company. We now have not enough money to put into this deal.
What did you need the money for? Like furniture and stuff?
Yeah, furniture.
Ah,
yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you did need a bit of money.
Exactly, yeah.
But you spent it all on my courses.
Exactly. So now we sort of, one of the courses that we had done was joint venture and raising finance. So we went out, found an armchair investor who would put the money in for us, the £3,000. We give them a fixed 10% return. And then from there, that's how we sort of looked at that deal. And
So it was no money
yeah,
down
we didn't
deal.
have to put anything in
That's the
for
thing,
that one,
because people sometimes, I've got like, say, 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand, and they hold on to it and they think, oh, I want to use this to invest. And it's like, actually, unless you've got £1 million, you're not really going to be able to make a massive amount of money by investing a small amount of money. Really what you need to do is, in my opinion, is invest that in yourself. And then you know how to raise finance on an unlimited amount of deals.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's kind of what you guys did. So respect on that. So, okay, that was your first deal. How much are you renting that out for in total?
3,600.
Nice. So you're paying the landlady $2,037. You're renting it for $3,600. And then you've obviously got to pay bills.
yeah, it's sort of about £600 in utility bills at the moment. So
Probably about that since over the last few months.
So you're left with about what, like 800, 900 quid profit?
After we paid everything, it was probably about 800.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And then what about your second deal?
The second deal, we actually contacted the landlord on open rent.
Okay.
So they had an apartment on open rent, so we contacted them, just dropped them a message saying, hi, look, we can offer you a hassle-free approach, hands-off approach, and some guaranteed rent. They then got back to us and was like, oh, that's brilliant, that's great, when can you view, sort of thing. So we then went down for a viewing. This was in December last year.
Open rent, sorry to interrupt, but open rent is like Rightmove, but just landlords direct.
Yeah, and the best thing we found out, like with open rent, was the fact that because it's so direct, you kind of cut out any other part, so the rapport can be built straight away. So even prior to the viewing, the rapport's already been built up with the landlord. So when we got there, this was December last year.
what day did we view it? Is
Christmas Eve. It was Christmas Eve. So he's working up all the way up until Christmas. Went there. I spoke to the landlord. He was absolutely amazing. He loved what we was looking to do with the property, which was serviced accommodation.
Right.
So as we finished the viewing for the first one, because the rapport was already built up, he literally said to us, I've got another one in this building, but it hasn't been listed yet. Do you want to have a look at it? So he's like, you know what? While we're here, we'll look exactly. So we've gone upstairs and we've had a look at this one, and it was literally on the same level as the one we just seen, if not better. And he was like, how much would you want for this one? So we kind of made him an offer for this the following day. And he accepted both of the offers for both of the apartments. So we went out to find one, but actually ended up getting two.
And it shows as well, you know, the person that sees the most people, sometimes you just got to get out there, book viewings. And on the training, that's what we're very much about, isn't it? Just pick up the phone, get viewings, because you don't know from one viewing how many ripple effects or domino effects that can also make.
Just to touch on that point, we was actually at the training and I remember, was it generating leads? I believe it was to generate as many leads or viewings as possible. And I teamed up with another person called Aaron, and I believe this is the point where it changed for me, because I was sort of calling up agents, trying to speak to them, and effectively I was factoring in a bit too much due diligence before I've even made the call. I'm thinking, will this work? Will the figures work? How much can I pay? Whereas if I just pick up the phone, make the call, make the viewing, figure out the rest later. So that's what a big tip was for us from just...
Yeah. How many viewings did you manage to get on the program?
I believe between me and Aaron, was it 5 viewings we had, something like that?
Nice.
And we were sort of up on stage and everyone was cheering for us. So it was
what
great.
About you? Did you get any views on the program?
On that program, we only managed to get 1 viewing.
That's okay.
Yeah, we only managed to get the 1.
Yeah. And that's the thing though, it's about action, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
You can people can overthink things. Oh, they think they've got to get loads of due diligence and spend hours and hours and hours before they pick up the phone. But you just got to pick up the phone, man. How's the management side been? You've got HMOs, you've got serviced accommodation. You've got four properties, making a really good income from them. How difficult is it? Because I know you guys are quite hands-on. The management, is that like a nightmare? Is it what's?
To be fair, I feel like the management has been a little bit difficult at times, especially now when you get to the point of that you got 4. It's just managing all of them, but we've kind of just broken it down, and the way we've systemized stuff with the key safes at the properties. Also, we use cleaners. Like the power team that we've got is brilliant, especially in the Coventry area as well.
Okay, and that's why you stuck to Coventry.
Yeah, because the power team that we have, they're literally on call. We had a little issue with the tenant. They had a blockage in their toilet. We called the plumber. The next day he was out there, fixed it. So we have really got a hands-on team at the moment.
I think for us, because we took on 1 HMO and then we sort of took on 3 service accommodations quite close. So we went from just managing 1 property to now managing 4. And the change between HMO and SA, it was a bit overwhelming at first, just in terms of we hadn't got the correct power team in place and things like that. So going from doing a lot of things ourselves to now being able to pass a few things on, sort of, as Jahmeil said, systemize, outsource things, it's sort of brought back our time now to be able to focus on more deals.
Now you've systemized it, how many hours a week roughly would you say you spend managing your 4 properties?
Between about 10 hours, 10 to 15 hours a week,
Okay.
I'd say about that, yeah.
So it's kind of like part-time, you've systemized it, but still, if you're making like 3,800 a month, that's not bad. And you're still new-ish, so you'll probably systemize it more as we go on. Were there any points over the last year or 2 where you wanted to quit?
In all honesty, I wouldn't say I've had a time where I've wanted to quit, but I've had times where I found it very difficult, just in terms of, as I was saying earlier, we took on 1 HMO and then we took on 3 SAs. So when we took on the 3 SAs, it was just a lot in terms of finances that had to be put into those, just as the in cost, things like that. So
because you guys were starting on a shoestring budget as well. It's not like you had 25 grand behind you to start the business, and you also invested in your education. You got all these deals, rent needs to be paid. I can see that it would be stressful.
But we just said we're way too far in. We've got things that we want to accomplish in life. We know exactly where we want to sort of go. So
the action we put in so far as well, like the results of showing, like it's easy to look back and think, the mistakes that we've made, but at the end of the day, how far we've come since the point we started has just been that great. Why can't you keep going forward, sort of thing?
But in the tough times, I think it was more the fact that it's just, we know where we want to go to, so we can't stop. We're already in the middle of the ocean. To stop would be as bad as going forward.
I think we prep our students pretty well for the tough times. We say the importance of persistence. It's going to get hard. Did you have any like friends or anything, or trying to put you off any of that?
No, to be honest, our friendship group is actually pretty supportive. We have young entrepreneurs in our friendship group as well. So it's good to see how they're doing their side of the business and how and it's kind of just looking at each other's journeys. And even though we're in different aspects of business,
Right.
You can still have that same conversation about scaling up, leveling up, how different strategies help marketing wise, etc.
You're fortunate because a lot of people, a lot of young guys starting out, they've got their mom and their this person and their aunties being like, be careful, trying to stop them. And then when you get your first bit of money, then it's like, okay, well, we'll see. Then you start making 3,800. It's like, money isn't everything.
We're waiting for that one.
Say, we was pretty lucky just because our friends, family are just so supportive. Just a quick example, we went out to watch sort of football one night, and obviously our mums and sisters, so they're saying to us, oh, you can't be going out, you're getting complacent, you need to focus all the time.
Oh, wow.
So they're more onto us than what we are.
That's good.
So yeah,
that's
we've got
good.
a real
Well, shout out to your mum.
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing. What would you say the biggest, like, you've obviously learned a lot from not just the training, but also from actually doing it, you know? So what would you say the biggest lessons from actually doing it on the road, what would you say the biggest lessons have been?
I would say the biggest lesson that you can take is action, because let's just say, for example, when we went to Leicester one time, we both had a day off and we was just like, you know what are we doing? We said, we'll go Leicester. We'll just go into some letting agents, have a conversation with them. At first I was like, shall we do it? He was like, you know what? Yeah, we haven't been at other companies, so let's do it. So we drove down Leicester, went into, it was about five, 6 letting agents. And that's actually where the Leicester SA come from.
Wow.
Just from taking,
going into
letting agents.
So you've used Open Rent, you've used scraping the council website, you've used and there's so many ways to get deals. There's not just one way. It's about doing everything. Exactly. Some people, send out 10 letters. You sent out 200 and you had 5 or 10, so you only had like 5%.
Yeah, but you only needed the one to get the deal. Exactly.
Some people send 10 letters. They don't get a single response and they go, I don't work.
Yeah.
It's the same when we started off making calls. I remember when we first done the rent-to-rent accelerator online, the feeling of first picking up the call to call an agent, I was just thinking, and then I got a no, and I was like, a no again. I was thinking, you know what? Just like try and stick to it. Yeah. Keep getting no's, but at some point you pick it up and something changes. It just clicks. Yeah. And I think that's down to the education, really. Like once you get educated and you know what you gotta say and you know the ways you gotta go about it, like you said, your toolbox. It's hard not to prosper in there.
What would you say the difference is between the online training and the in-person?
So I'd say the online training, we got the technical fundamentals, but it allowed us to get a deal at the end of the day. Yeah. However, when we went to the live in person, just the atmosphere, the energy, the
environment is
just bouncing ideas off other people. When you're on stage, I remember the first day, I think, did it start at 10 or 11? But it went till about 9, 10 at night. Usually, if that was a normal job or even another education course, you're sort of tired, you're ready to sort of KO. But at that course, the energy, the change of states, just being able to be around like-minded people, it's just amazing. It's amazing.
The energy in the room is brilliant. Like you just get immersed in it, and then you get carried away.
Next thing you know, you're like, oh my gosh, I got 5 viewings in a day. Yeah. You know what? As well, I think environment's so important. Not just what you know, but also who you know. And I think getting yourself uncomfortable, being in rooms with people that are doing deals that can pull you up, so important. It's so important. So what's next for you guys then? Because when I asked you to come on Winners on a Wednesday, you were a bit like unsure at first.
I think that was purely because obviously when we started out, from where we've come to where we've got to, I think we need to realise that we've sort of seen a little bit of success. It's nowhere near where we want to get to, but we need to realise, we have seen a little bit of success now. Celebrate that and then move on.
Well, we always say, when people get to the £2,000 a month mark, when our students hit that £2,000 a month mark, that's when it's like, come on the show. Because some people will, wait till I get 10 grand a month. But then it's like, well, hang on a minute. You might even become unrelatable by that point. Or you might forget the hardships of the beginning. It's about what you do in the beginning. So, and for me, people can only hear my story over and over, and it's like when people hear different perspectives from different walks of life. You guys are from Dudley. It's just it will inspire people in different ways. So it's been such a pleasure working with you. You guys deserve everything you've achieved.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
I can't wait to see you win. What would you say your final words of wisdom would be for someone watching the video, wants to get in property? What would you say their first step needs to be?
Personally, I'd say you need to be an action taker, just because if you're just a thinker or doer, a thinker, you won't get anything done.
Yeah,
so be an action taker, and also just have a real strong reason of why you're doing this and what you want to achieve, because that will just keep you going at the
What's your
hard
reason?
times. My reasons are, I've sort of seen where my mum and my sister have come from and what they've done to make ends meet. So for me, I've just been ingrained in sort of being able to just elevate my family, being able to just help other people out. So we've sort of spoke about it in time. We want to be able to just help other people, and we want to be able to be in a position of giving, not just receiving.
Right.
So that's
You guys have got big
reason.
hearts, man.
Yeah.
So I love that. How about yourself? Final words of wisdom.
My final words of wisdom would be just to forget what anybody else says. If anybody has any no's or whatever, follow your own mind and make sure that you just do it. And just make sure that you believe in yourself regardless of anything, and you can get through any situation. Just keep being persistent.
Guys, big respect, big love.
Samuel.
Keep up the great work. Folks, I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope you learned a lot. I hope you feel inspired. If you want to come down to the Property Investors Crash Course like these guys did, meet me, get in a good environment, then there are free tickets available, limited spaces, so get booked now. I'll leave a link in the description. I've done over 100 interviews like this with my students. I think there's about 140, maybe 160 or odd. You can check out the entire playlist right here if you need some motivation. Get booked on the Property Investors Crash Course here, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.